Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike. Morals and Dogma of the ancient and accepted Scottish rite of Freemasonry, prepared for the Supreme Council of the 33rd degree for the Southern jurisdiction of the United States. Charleston, 1871. 1. Apprentice, the 12-inch rule and the common gavel. Force, unregulated or ill-regulated, is not only wasted in the void, like that of gunpowder burned in the open air, and seen unconfined by science, but, striking in the dark, and its flows meeting only the air, they recoil and bruise itself. It is destruction and ruin. It is the volcano, the earthquake, the cyclone, not growth and progress. It is Polyphemus blinded, striking at random, and falling headlong among the sharp rocks by the impetus of his own blows. The blind force of the people is a force that must be economized and also managed, as the blind force of steam, lifting the ponderous iron arms and turning the large wheels, is made to board and rifle the cannon and to weave the most delicate flakes. It must be regulated by intellect. Intellect is to the people and the people's force what the slender needle of the compass is to the ship its soul, always counseling the huge masts of wood and iron, and always pointing to the north, to attack the citadels built up on all sides against the human race by superstitions, despotisms, and prejudices. The force must have a brain and a law. Then its deeds of daring produce permanent results, and there is real progress. Then there are sublime conquests. Thought is a force, and philosophy should be an energy, finding its aim and its effect in the amelioration of mankind. The two great motors are truth and love. When all these forces are combined, and guided by the intellect, and regulated by the rule of right and justice, and of combined and systematic movement and effort, the great revolution prepared for by the ages will begin to march. The power of the deity himself is in equilibrium with his wisdom. Hence the only result on harmony. It is because force is ill-regulated that revolutions prove failures. Therefore it is that so often insurrections, coming from those high mountains that domineer over the moral horizon, justice, wisdom, reason, right, built of the purest snow of the ideal after a long fall from rock to rock, after having reflected the sky in their transparency, and been swollen by the 100 affluents, in the majestic path of triumph, suddenly lose themselves in quagmires, like a California river in the sands. The onward march of the human race requires that the heights around it should blaze with noble and enduring lessons of courage. Deeds of daring dazzle history, and form one class of the guiding lights of man. They are the stars and coruscations from that great sea of electricity, the force inherent in the people, to strive, to brave all risks, to perish, to persevere, to be true to one's self, to grapple body to body with destiny, to surprise defeat by the little error it inspires, now to confront unrighteous power, now to defy intoxicated triumph. These are the examples that the nations need, and the light that electrifies them. There are immense forces in the great cavern of evil beneath society, in a hideous degradation, squalor, wretchedness, and destitution, vices and crimes that reek and simmer in the darkness in that populace below the people of great cities. Their disinterestedness vanishes. Every one howls, searches, gropes, and nods for himself. Ideas are ignored, and of progress there is no thought. This populace has two mothers, both of them stepmothers, ignorance and misery. One is their only guide, for the appetite alone they crave satisfaction. Yet even these may be employed. The lowly sand may be trampled upon, cast into the furnace, melted, purified by fire, may become resplendent crystals. They have the brute force of the hammer, but their blows help on the great cause, when struck within the lines traced by the rule held by wisdom and discretion. Yet it is this very force of the people, this titanic power of the giants, that builds the fortifications of tyrants, and is embodied in their armies. Hence the possibility of such tyranny as those of which it has been said, that Rome smells worse under Vitellius than under Sulla. Under Claudius and under Domitian there is a deformity of baseness corresponding to the ugliness of the tyranny. The foulness of the slaves is a direct result of the atrocious baseness of the despot. The miasma exhaled from these crouching consciences that reflect the master, the public authorities are unclean, hearts are collapsed, consciences shrunken, souls puny. This is so under Caracalla, it is so under Commodus, it is so under Heliogabalus, while from the Roman Senate, under Caesar, there comes only the rank odor peculiar to the evil setting. It is the force of the people that sustains all these despotisms, the basest as well as the best. That force acts through armies, and these often are enslaved and liberated. Despotism there applies the rule. Force is the mace of steel at the saddle bow of the knight or of the bishop in armor. Passive obedience by force supports thrones and oligarchies, Spanish kings, and Phoenician senates. Might in an army wielded by tyranny is the enormous sum total of utter weakness, and so humanity wages war against humanity, in despite of humanity. So the people willingly submit to despotism, and its workmen submit to be despised, and its soldiers to be whipped. Therefore it is that battles lost by a nation are often progress attained. Less glory is more liberty. When the drum is silent, reason sometimes speaks. Tyrants use the force of the people to chain and subjugate, that is, invoke the people. Then they plow with them as men do with oxen yoked. Thus the spirit of liberty and innovation is reduced by bayonets, and principles are struck dumb by cannon shot, while the monks mingle with the troopers, and the church militant and jubilant, Catholic or Puritan, sings Te Deums for victories over rebellion. The military power, not subordinate to the civil power, against the hammer or make of force, independent of the rule, is an armed tyranny, born full grown, as a theme sprung from the brain of Zeus. It spawns the dynasty, and begins with Caesar to run into Vitellius and Domitus. At the present day is inclined to begin where formerly dynasties ended. Constantly the people put forth immense strength, only to end in immense weakness. The force of the people is exhausted in indefinitely prolonging things long since dead, in governing mankind, but in forming old dead tyrannies of faith, restoring dilapidated dogmas, rebuilding faded, worm-eaten shrines, whitening and rooting ancient and barren superstitions, saving society by multiplying parasites, perpetuating superannuated institutions, enforcing the worship of symbols as the actual means of salvation, and dying the dead corpse of the past, mouth to mouth, with the living present. Therefore it is that it is one of the fatalities of humanity to be condemned to eternal struggles with phantoms, with superstitions, bigotries, hypocrisies, prejudices, the formulas of error, and the pleas of tyranny. Despotisms, seen in the past, become respectable, as the mountains, bristling with volcanic rock, rugged and hoarhead, seen through the haze of distance, is blue and smooth and beautiful. The sight of a single dungeon of tyranny is worth more, to dispel illusions, and create a holy hatred of despotism, and true direct force right, than the most eloquent volumes. The French should have preserved the Bastille as a perpetual lesson. Italy should not destroy the dungeons of the Inquisition. The force of the people maintained the power that built its gloomy cells, and placed the living in their dreadnought sepulchres. The force of the people cannot, by its unrestrained and fitful action, maintain and continue in action and existence the free government once created. That force must be limited, restrained, conveyed by distribution into different channels, and by roundabout courses, to outlets, whence it is to issue as the law, action, and decision of the state, as the wise old Egyptian kings conveyed in different files, by subdivision, the swelling waters of the Nile, and compelled them to fertilize and not devastate the land. There must be the use et normas, the law and rule, or gauge, of constitution and law, within which a public force must act. Make a breach in either, and the great steam hammer, with its swift and ponderous blows, crushes all the machinery to atoms, and, at last, wrenching itself awake, lies inert and dead amid the ruin it has wrought. The force of the people, or the popular will, in action and exerted, symbolized by the gavel, regulated and guided by and acting within the limits of law and order, symbolized by the 24-inch rule, has for its fruit liberty, equality, and fraternity. Liberty regulated by law, equality of rights in the eye of the law, brotherhood with its beauty and obligations as well as its benefits. You will hear shortly of the rough ashlar and the perfect ashlar, as part of the jewels of the lodge. The rough ashlar is said to be a stone, as taken from the quarry, in its rude and natural state. The perfect ashlar is said to be a stone made ready by the hands of the workman, to be adjusted by the working tools of the fellow craft. We shall not repeat the explanation of these symbols given by the Yorkite. You may read them in the printed monitors. They are declared to allude to the self-improvement of the individual craftsman, a continuation of the same superficial interpretation. The rough ashlar is the people, as a mass, rude and unorganized. The perfect ashlar, or cubical stone, symbol of perfection, is the state, the rulers deriving their powers from the consent of the governed, the constitution and law speaking the will of the people, the government harmonious, symmetrical, sufficient, its powers properly distributed and duly adjusted in equilibrium. If we delineate a cube on a plane surface thus, we have visible 3 faces and 9 external lines, drawn between 7 points. The complete cube has 3 more faces, making 6, 3 more lines, making 12, and 1 more point, making 8. As the number 12 includes the sacred numbers 3, 5, 7, and 3 times 3, or 9, and is produced by adding the sacred number 3 to 9, while its own 2 figures, 1, 2, the unit or monad, and 1, added together, make the same sacred number 3, it was called the perfect number, and the cube became the symbol of perfection. Produced by force, acting by rule, hammered in accordance with lines measured by the gauge, out of the rough ashlar, it is an appropriate symbol of the force of the people, expressed as the constitution and law of the state, and of the state itself. The 3 visible faces represent the 3 departments, the executive, which executes the laws, the legislative, which makes the laws, the judiciary, which interprets the laws, applies and enforces them, between man and man, between the state and the citizens. The 3 invisible faces are liberty, equality, and fraternity, the threefold soul of the state, its vitality, spirit, and indel eft. Though Masonry neither usurps the place of nor hates religion, prayer is an essential part of our ceremonies. It is the aspiration of the soul toward the absolute and infinite intelligence, which is the one supreme deity, most feebly and misunderstandingly characterized as an architect. Certain faculties of man are directed toward the unknown thought, meditation, prayer, the unknown is ocean, of which conscience is the compass. Thought, meditation, prayer, are the great mysterious pointings of the needle. It is a spiritual magnetism that thus connects the human soul with beauty. These majestic irradiations of the soul pierce through the shadow toward the light. It is but a shallow talk to say that prayer is absurd, because it is not possible for us, by means of it, to persuade God to change his plans. He produces known and foretended effects, by the instrumentality of the forces of nature, all of which are his forces. Our own are parts of these. Our free agency and our will are forces. We do not absurdly cease to make efforts to attain wealth or happiness, prolonged life, and continued health, because we cannot by any effort change what is predestined. If the effort also is predestined, it is not the less our effort, made of our free will. So, likewise, we pray. Will is a force. Thought is a force. Prayer is a force. Why should it not be of the law of God, that prayer, like faith and love, should have its effect? Man is not to be comprehended as a starting point, or progress as a goal, without those 2 great forces, faith and love. Prayer is sublime. Orphans that beg and clamor are pitiful. To deny the efficacy of prayer is to deny that of faith, love, and effort. Yet the effect produced, when our hand, moved by our will, launches a pebble into the ocean, never cease, and every uttered word is registered for eternity upon the invisible air. Every lodge is a temple, and as a whole, and in its details, symbolic. The universe itself supplied man with the model for the first temples reared to the divinities. The arrangement of the Temple of Solomon, the symbolic ornaments which formed its chief decorations, and the dress of the high priest, all had reference to the order of the universe, as then understood. The temple contained many emblems of the seasons, the sun, the moon, the planets, the constellations, Ursa Major and Minor, the zodiac, the elements, and the other parts of the world. It is the master of this lodge, of the universe, Hermes, of whom Purim is the representative, that is one of the lives of the lodge. For further instruction as to the symbolism of the heavenly bodies, band of sacred numbers, band of the temple and its details, you must wait patiently until you advance in Masonry, in the meantime exercising your intellect in studying them for yourself. To study and seek to interpret correctly the symbols of the universe is the work of sage and philosopher. It is to decipher the writing of God, and penetrate into his thoughts. This is what is asked and answered in our catechism, in regard to the lodge. asterisk 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 asterisk